Welcome back to Grim Advice with Gretta Myers. You've entered the grimoire. Let's turn a new page together. Alright. Here we go. Alright, this one, I'm a little suspicious after the last title it said clever in it, and you know, he wasn't actually that clever, but this one's called Clever Elsie. So, Elsie, like the name, like the girl's name, I'm going to assume. Well, without further ado, let's see how this goes. Clever Elsie. There was once a man who had a daughter who was called Clever Elsie, and when she had grown up, her father said, "We will get her married." "Yes," said the mother, "if only anyone would come who would have her." At length a man came from a distance and wooed her, who was called Hans, but he stipulated that Clever Elsie should be really wise. "Oh," said the father, "she's sharp enough." And the mother said, "Oh, she can see the wind coming up the street and hear the flies coughing." "Well," said Hans, "if she's not really wise, I won't have her." When they were sitting at dinner and had eaten, the mother said, "Elsie, go into the cellar and fetch some beer." Then Clever Elsie took the pitcher from the wall, went into the cellar, clapped the lid up and down as she went to pass the time. When she was below, she fetched herself a chair and set it before the barrel so that she had no need to stoop and did not hurt her back or do herself any unexpected injury. Then she placed the can before her, turned the tap, but while the beer was running, she would not let her eyes be idle, and looked up at the wall, and after much peering here and there, saw a pickaxe exactly above her, which the masons had accidentally left there. Then Clever Elsie began to weep, and said, "If I get Hans, and we have a child, and he grows big, and we send him into the cellar here to draw beer, then the pickaxe will fall on his head and kill him." Then she sat and wept and screamed with all the strength of her body over the misfortune which lay before her. Those upstairs waited for the drink, but Clever Elsie still did not come. Then the woman said to the servant, "Just go down into the cellars and see where Elsie is." The maid went and found her sitting in front of the barrel, screaming loudly. "Elsie, why do you weep?" asked the maid. "Ah," she answered, "have I not reason to weep? If I get Hans, and we have a child, and he grows big, and he has to draw beer here, the pickaxe will perhaps fall on his head and kill him." Then said the maid, "What a clever Elsie we have!" and sat down beside her and began loudly to weep over the misfortune. After a while, as the maid did not come back, those upstairs were thirsty for the beer. The man said to the boy, "Just go down into the cellar and see where Elsie and the girl are." The boy went down, and there sat Clever Elsie and the girl both weeping together. Then he asked, "Why are you weeping?" "Ah," said Elsie, "have I not reason to weep? If I get Hans, and we have a child, and he grows big, and has to draw beer from here, the pickaxe will fall on his head and kill him." Then said the boy, "What a clever Elsie we have!" and sat down by her and likewise began to howl loudly. Upstairs they waited for the boy, but as he still did not return, the man said to the woman, "Just go down into the cellar and see where Elsie is." The woman went down and found all three in the midst of their lamentations, and inquired what was the cause. Then Elsie told her that her future child was to be killed by the pickaxe when it grew big and had to draw beer, and the pickaxe fell down. Then said the mother likewise, "What a clever Elsie we have!" and sat down and wept with them. Goodness. The man upstairs waited a short time, but as his wife did not come back and his thirst grew ever greater, he said, "I must go into the cellar myself and see where Elsie is." And when he got into the cellar, and they were all sitting together crying, and he heard the reason, and that Elsie's child was the cause, and that Elsie might perhaps bring one into the world some day, and that it might be killed by the pickaxe if it should happen to be sitting underneath it, drawing beer just at the very time when it fell down, he cried, "Oh, what a clever Elsie we have!" and sat down and likewise wept with them. The bridegroom stayed upstairs alone for a long time. Then, as no one would come back, he thought, "They must be waiting for me below. I too must go there and see what they are about." When he got down, 5 of them were sitting, screaming and lamenting quite piteously, each outdoing the other. "What misfortune has happened here?" he asked. "Ah, dear Hans," said Elsie, "if we marry each other and have a child, and he is big, and perhaps send him down here to draw something to drink, the pickaxe which has been left up there might dash his brain out if it were to fall. So have we not reason to weep?" "Come," said Hans, more understanding than that if it is not needed for my household. "As you are such a clever Elsie, I will have you." And he seized her hand, took her upstairs with him, and married her. After Hans had had her some time, he said, "Wife, I am going out to work and earn some money for us. Go into the field and cut the corn, that we may have some bread." "Yes, dear Hans, I will do that." After Hans had gone away, she cooked herself some good broth and took it into the field with her. When she came to the field, she said to herself, "What shall I do? Shall I shear first, or shall I eat first? Oh, I will eat first." Then she emptied her basin of broth, and when she was fully satisfied, she once more said, "What shall I do? Shall I shear first, or shall I sleep first? I will sleep first." Then she lay down among the corn and fell asleep. Hans had been at home for a long time, but Elsie did not come. Then said he, "What a clever Elsie I have! She is so industrious that she does not even come home to eat." As evening came, however, she still stayed away, and Hans went out to see where she had cut. But nothing was cut, and she was lying among the corn asleep. Then Hans hastened home, and brought a fowler's net with little bells, and hung it around her, and she still went on sleeping. Then he ran home, shut the door, and sat down in his chair and worked. At length, when it was quite dark, clever Elsie awoke. When she got up, there was a jingling all round about her, and the bells rang at each step which she took. Then she was alarmed, and became uncertain whether she really was clever Elsie or not. Said, "Is it I, or is it not I?" But she thought, "I will go home and ask if it is me or not. They will be sure to know." She ran to the door of her own house, but it was shut. Then knocked at the window and cried, "Hans, is Elsie inside?" "Yes," answered Hans, "she is inside." At that she was terrified, and said, "Ah, heavens, then it is not I," and went to another door. But when the people heard the jingling of bells, they would not open it, and she could not get in anywhere. Then she ran out of the village, and no one has seen her since. What? Okay, give me a sec. Okay. First off, it sounds like, and then they went upstairs and got married right then and there. Like, that's exactly what it sounds like, and it just kind of cracked me up. No, I'll make that in the second point. Secondly, the whole story could have been saved if they're like, bridegroom, go see where your fiance be at. Like, what's up with her? If he had been the first one down there, then the story would be like a whole page shorter. Secondly, I guess Hans is just really, really common name, like John. But we'd have a John too, so like, what the heck? It's like, I'm not big on boys' names. I don't know that many boys' names. Like, no. Like, Hunter, I don't know. Not important. It just cracked me up that we were literally talking about Clever Hans at the beginning, where I was, rather, and then it's like, he shows up! Peace! Sup, man? Except he wouldn't say that. And again, okay, any more points I would like to make? No, okay. It was like the louse and the flea. Was that this week? All the days are blending together. The louse and the flea, the whole chickens with their heads. Well, not that they're running with their heads cut off. The point of the matter is that if chicken A had stayed calm when Elsie explained the situation, she did really good at explaining. This is exactly why I'm crying. But no. 4 people went down to the cellar to get her up. And all 5 of them just sat there, lamenting and crying. Anyways. And then it's just the line where it says, when he got down, 5 of them were sitting and screaming and lamenting quite piteously, each outdoing the other. I mean, there have been situations where everyone's just like, oh yeah? Well, my day sucked worse than yours. I got hit by a car. Oh yeah? Well, I was driving that car and then I crashed into the tree. Oh yeah? Well, I was the tree. But like, you know. Okay, here's my point. She wasn't that clever either. If I were to diagnose this character, I would diagnose her with anxiety because she's sitting here overthinking everything. Not just the obvious thing. No. Hold on. When she's like, should I eat first or should I shear? I'll eat first. And then she's like, should I sleep first or should I shear? And then she sleeps. Like, okay, that one's not as overthinking. That one's more just procrastination and laziness. No, those are 2 different things entirely. It was one of the 2. We'll never know. And then she's like, oh my gosh, there are bells all around me. I've entered that one show. Zone 1. Yeah. The copyrighted one. I've entered the copyright zone. And she's like, is it really me? And she just has this big, fat existential crisis, and then she goes home and she's like, is Elsie home? And Hans, who's just kind of sick of this at this point. I mean, why did he marry her if he didn't, like, he knew that she had this tendency to do this. So what? That's on you, dude. And it's on him. And then he's like, no! Like, yeah, she's home. And then she's like, oh my gosh! I'm not me! And then she runs around town, like, trying to get people to open their doors. But then the bells, which are typically, fairy associated, and as we've talked about before, fairy does not equal cute little with wings and glitter, and they're, like, happy all the time. No, fairy's like this big person that can, like, destroy your entire village kind of thing if it's mad at, like, one of your kids. And you're just gone and you're dead. Or it could just be like a spirit, like an angel or a devil or etc. So, yeah, I wouldn't have opened my door either. Not gonna lie. I would have been like, yeah. And I mean, even if I looked out the window and I'm like, it's that Elsie lady with why is she running around with bells on? I would have just been like, this is above my pay grade. This is above my level of, I can't, nope, not dealing with it. Not my problem. And gone back to sleep. Because again, it's the middle of the night. I would not have opened the door. Okay, there's a part of me that's like this little part of me that's like, okay, if I saw that she needed help, maybe. But I'm like, depends on how late in the night we're talking, and how my day was, and how much I already dislike this house. I'm only human, and that's That's valid. I'm working on it. I'm improving. Whatever, you know. Okay, and then secondly, this whole... She's... Okay. No, I take it back from earlier. It is laziness. She's not procrastinating. She's just lazy. And then that laziness gives her anxiety so that she can come up with stuff like this. But she's like, she puts... Let me get it. She's bored. So she claps the lid to pass the time. And then she sits on a chair to get the beer so her back doesn't hurt later. And then she's like bored, so she's looking everywhere and she sees this pickaxe. And it just strikes her with existential dread. And instead of like trying to calm herself down, like, no, that would never happen. We'll be okay. It'll be fine. No, she plays it up and she screams and she like purposefully continues to rile herself up. And I take it back earlier, like, yes, that's a symptom of anxiety is overthinking things. And if you overthink things, some people think... Like, they're like, oh, that's cool, like, and they'll see it as not a flaw. And so there are people out there that'll be like, yeah. And there are people who might see it as a flaw and will get you help, and there are terrible people making terrible decisions with their lives, like judging you, who will be like, you're just a terrible person, this is your own dang fault. Avoid those people. Go for the other two. Anyways, but I don't really think this is anxiety. I think this is she's just lazy and she's coming up with an excuse for why she was all lazy and stuff. And she's like, oh, gotta maintain that cleverness. Ugh, being clever is so exhausting. Pickaxe. Yeah, she's unfortunately like the exact stereotype of just some attention hog. And I hate, yeah. And that's really unfortunate, because there are a lot of people that got hurt and, like, roped into this whole cleverness thing, when really she was kind of just pretending the whole time. And there are people who do that, and it sucks. And it's valid, that's where they're at, and we can all hope to improve. Yeah. Because certainly we'll all have those moments when we're like, I will make myself emotional for some reason. So, yeah, again, I'm really starting to mistrust the Grimm brothers when they call someone clever. Unless, of course, clever comes from some Germanic rooted word that actually means really dumb. Or they're just being ironic. I don't know. Next time it says clever, though, I'm gonna be like, okay, third time's a charm. Let's go see what they have for us. You know. Anyways. So, alright. Thank you for joining us for another happily ever after. Or not so happily ever after. That's up for you to decide. And, whatever you decide is valid. I'm going to leave this one up to you. Either way, this is the end for the episode, so tune in later, and we can turn a new page and together and learn more. Yeah.